This is a Honda HRV, kind of like a baby CRV, and today I'm going to thoroughly review it for you. I'm going to tell you some of the things I love about it, some of the things I don't love so much about it, and whether you should actually go out there and buy one with your own money. Looks-wise, obviously a really subjective thing, but I think they got it just right. I especially love that big body-coloured front grille, and also I think they stole some of the good cues from other manufacturers, like those headlights, definitely a bit Mazda-inspired there. And the overall shape and window line, honestly, I thought it looked a bit Volvo earlier on. The material quality is excellent, and honestly the whole package just has this really premium feel to it. You get Apple CarPlay as standard on this big 9-inch display. It's also got a wide angle reverse camera, you've got heated seats, keyless entry, and what Honda term as an air diffusion system, delivering a natural breeze around the cabin, which is basically just these little L-shaped vents on the side of the dash that blow air either side of your head rather than directly into your face. It's probably a bit of a gimmick. As for back seat space, well, here I am in the back, a 6'1" adult, and yeah, I fit, but there's not an awful lot of room. In fact, I think my hair is actually brushing the roof. Legroom, interestingly, there's quite a bit of legroom sat behind the seat in my position. It's almost like they want to take some of it from here and maybe add it here. Now, if you are buying an HRV, it's probably going to be a couple of kids that you're putting back here. And on that note, you could get a couple child seats, a couple booster seats in the back, no problem whatsoever. Easy access to the ISOFIX points, but it must be said that middle seat is very, very thin. It does have a belt, roof mounted of course, in traditional Honda style. I don't know why they do that and don't just put it here. But yeah, just be aware that that is going to be pretty limited. It's very thin. Now, the official stat is 335 litres, but let me show you this. Whilst it's got a big square boot floor, it's kind of triangular shaped due to this sloping rear, and as other big dog owners know, we need this height, so if you've got a big dog, you're planning on putting it in there, be aware it might not fit. Now, before we go into what the HRV is like to drive, here's 3 things that frustrate me about it. Number 1 is that the driver's seat just will not go low enough, so it gives the impression that it's got a really small windscreen. In fact, it doesn't, it's just that I'm sitting too high and half of my vision is taken up by roof. Number 2 is that even though the car is unlocked, I can't open the fuel filler. I need to go inside the car and pull the handle. That's common on all Hondas. I don't know why they do it when every other manufacturer just operates the lock off of the key. And number 3 has to be the boot release. It's a little bit on the slow side. Anyway, here are the 3 things that I love about the Honda CRV. Right now, number 1 I'm too excited about. You know parcel shelves, right? They sit up here, so they cover the contents of the boot. Sometimes you need to remove them, you need to store them away, they get misplaced and so on. Well, Honda has solved the parcel shelf with the HRV. Get a load of this. Look at that! Now, the next thing I love is this instrument cluster, because on the right hand side we've got a traditional analog dial, which I really like, and on the left hand side, this one, as you've seen just changed, is actually a digital dial, so it can show you all the car critical data, but when you're just driving along, it's just like a rev counter. I mean, would you look at that frame we've opened on? Tell me that doesn't look a bit like a Volvo. Anyway, third and final thing for the moment that I love about the HRV, and that is, you know, in winter when your windscreen wipers can get frozen and stick to the screen and stuff, well, not in the HRV. I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but it's got little heated elements that sit under the wiper blade, so you can turn it on and your wipers will be free. So, how does it drive then? Really well. Let me get moving and I'll tell you all about it. Now, let me say right off the bat, if you're a new driver or a nervous driver, you would love this thing because it is so easy to drive. It's got an automatic CVT transmission in it, and I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of these gearboxes generally speaking, but I do think it's found a really good home with the hybrid HRV because the transition between battery and engine is absolutely seamless. In fact, the only downside I can see to this gearbox in this car is when you put your foot down, it is a bit on the noisy side. So one interesting feature that Honda has integrated into the HRV is the ability to choose how aggressive you want the battery regeneration to be. So with the system fully off, there's barely anything, but if I start to apply it using the paddle, it's almost as if I'm pressing the brakes It's really awesome that Honda have included that, because a lot of competitor companies don't give the driver any choice over that. The car just kind of decides. So in terms of engine choice, there is none. It's this 1.5 litre or nothing. And I tell you what, it's only 130 brake horsepower, but when it's supplemented by those 2 electric motors, it's no slouch. Perfectly adequate for this size of car. Now, in terms of specification that you should look at, personally, this is the one that I would buy. This is an Advance, so it comes with the very pleasurable heated steering wheel, which I like a lot, and electric door mirrors, nice extras. The top of the range one comes with 2-tone paint, but honestly, I don't think it's necessary. The car's already a looker. In the base spec, well, you don't really want to buy a base spec, do you? Now, given that these cars are a couple of years old now, if it is a used one you're looking at, do yourself a favour and use vehiclescore.co.uk. Fire the plate of the car that you're interested in into their system, and it'll tell you all the good and bad points about that particular car. Completely free service, and it checks out a whole host of that car's background. These guys also have paid HPI reports. I'm going to put a 15% off discount voucher on screen now. Use that to get one of the paid ones, and make sure you're buying a good car. Now, as we go through this little village with many potholes and bumps, I think it's a good time to talk about the suspension, and honestly, it's as you would expect. It is so smooth. You can see me rolling over these bumps here, but it's still smooth. Honda seem to nail the suspension that they put in their SUV style cars. My CRV is exactly the same. It's some of the best that I've ever experienced, and I don't say that lightly. I think that's possibly why some of the slightly more aged drivers have these as their weapons of choice, and what a choice it is. I have just noticed a very odd feature. It's actually got descent control, which, yes, you probably want in your Land Rover Defender when you're in 4 foot of snow or a big muddy field, but in your 2-wheel drive mini SUV, that must be one of the most bizarre features I've ever seen. Now, before we get to the summary of this car, I would love to hear what you've got to say. So please do leave a comment below telling me what you think of the HRV. Is it a car that you would buy? Is there maybe something in particular that would put you off about it? Let me know in the comments below. Now, one last thing I want to cover before summarising this car is manoeuvrability. I know that's a consideration for many of you who are maybe looking at a car like this, busy outside school gates, tight supermarket car parks and stuff. What's it like to move about and park? Well, super easy. Couldn't be easier, actually. All this glass means that there's barely a blind spot to be seen. You've got that huge reverse camera, and this steering is super light and quick. 1 turn lock to lock means it could not be easier to park this thing or get it through tight manoeuvres. So, my summarising thoughts on the Honda HRV then. Well, it's easy to drive, got strong performance, is comfortable, comes well kitted out, even as standard. It may not be as practical as some of its rivals, but it more than makes up for it in my opinion. So, if what you want is a hybrid, small SUV, look no further. Now, thank you so much for watching. Please do hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.